I'm life and business coach Samantha Sifring, and this is the Online Business Building Mamas podcast, where you learn how to build a wildly successful business from home while raising kids. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking all about the value of a coach. I am really excited about this topic, and it seems so timely. So I just got back from a mastermind adventure with my coach and the other women in my mastermind. We were in Atlanta for 5 days, 3 full days of coaching and training and teaching and masterminding, and it was amazing. But what I'm really thinking about, like as I record this episode, as I was preparing for this episode, was one dinner during the weekend while we were there. My coach took everybody who had earned $200,000 in 2019, who had been a part of the mastermind in 2019. She took the 200K earners out to dinner, and it was 6 of us there with her, just kind of chatting and like social chatting, that kind of thing. But business topics came up, and we had this like massive breakthrough and great idea about the future of my business and how I'm scaling my business. A couple things that I had been thinking about over the past couple of months, just kind of thinking like, what is going to be my plan for scaling? What is going to be my plan for a couple other things that I've noticed in my business that are working now, but I know are not going to work at the million and multi-million dollar levels that I'm just kind of having on my mind now, right? Like not an emergency that has to be solved right this minute, but things that I've just kind of been sitting with and brainstorming and just kind of seeing what solutions and ideas I come up with. We answered over dinner really quickly in a few minutes. Like it came to Stacy and she was like, "This is what you're doing." And it was really exciting to be like, yeah, that's totally it. And watch, just things come together and how excited I felt. I had this moment of feeling like I just want to get up from the dinner table and go work on this right now. So exciting to be thinking about the future. So that really led perfectly into this idea of the value of a coach. I've been a coach for almost 5 years now, and I've worked with numerous coaches myself on both my life and my business. And one of the most common questions I get from people is, what do you actually do? How do you help people? How can you help me? This is typically from like people in my life who are not other coaches, who are not a part of my Facebook group or listening to my podcast, just friends or family that hear about what I do and have this question. So I wanted to answer it on this podcast and really dive into this topic. I spent a majority of the last fall really deeply reflecting on value, like the word, the concept, what it is, what creates it, how I can create more of it in myself, become more valuable. And today's podcast episode is inspired by one of those reflection sessions where I sat down, I wrote, I dug into the value of working with a coach and the value of working with me in particular. This whole episode is informed by both my experience as a coach and also my experience as a client of a coach. The first thing that came to mind for me was you get to step into belief in your vision. You get to step into possibility that your vision could happen. For many people, talking to a coach is the very first time that they experience thinking that the dreams that they have in their heart could actually be possible for them. That something more than their life right now is within their reach. For me, I had never even entertained the idea of making $100,000 in my business before I started working with a coach on my business. I distinctly remember 2 years ago thinking that $50,000 would be amazing, and it was all that I wanted. My coaches really opened my eyes to entertain the idea of a six-figure business and then $1 million business. They were like, of course you can do 50, you can do 100, you can do 1,000,000. A coach might be the only person in your life who doesn't think your dreams and aspirations are crazy, and that possibility itself can be so life-changing. Just seeing your dreams reflected back to you in a more real way and not just kind of floating around in your head feeling out of reach, it really can make the difference of if you even go after it or not. The next level of this is inevitability. This is kind of like the feeling of like it's more of a matter of when, not if. I think that this is really the next step after that possibility. So an example of this, in September of 2019, my coach Stacy flew me and a handful of other women from our mastermind out to California to do a photo shoot and film video testimonials for her. One of my major takeaways from this weekend, because we had downtime over meals and hanging out and that kind of thing, was this. Hitting the goals and creating the vision I had for my business at that time was a matter of when, not if. I came out of that trip totally on fire. In the next 3 months after that trip, I made what I had made in the 3 months prior, which is crazy. And it took my business from 100,000 to over 200,000. Now I have the same feeling about my $1 million business. Like I was talking about, over dinner with the other multiple six-figure earners, I really was thinking about what are the things that I need to do now in my business and over the course of this year in my business to reach $1 million next year. And it really had me in that feeling of like, this is happening. It's not like maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. It really is a matter of when, and really a matter of making that plan. Now I think about my work impacting thousands of moms to help them create financial independence and choices for themselves and their families. And it truly is a matter of when, not if. Knowing that somebody else who knows what they're talking about and has done what you want to do believes that you will do it, not just can do it, but will do it. It means the world, and it will light a fire in you like you can't even imagine. I think everybody should be able to have that experience. And it's one of the things that I love most about coaching, about being around your coach, having those more casual conversations with them where it's really they're able to be candid about their belief in you and what's going to happen. And they just treat you like, of course, you're going to be $1 million earner. It's the best. The third thing is intentional time to think. This is huge. I've worked one-on-one with hundreds of women now in my almost 5 years as a coach. And one of the many common threads is that none of us create time to think intentionally. I do now because my coach taught me to do that, but it's pretty rare for humans, any kind of humans, to take time to really intentionally think. We're all thinking all the time, obviously. Of course, it's like the crazy train of thoughts that usually takes us down a rabbit hole of all kinds of crazy negative thoughts about ourselves and our future. But to really create new results in our life, we need to carve out intentional thinking time. I will often hop on the phone with a new client, and the questions that I ask her are things she has never thought about before in her life. And we think about them on the call. We dive into her answers on the call, and I'll also give her homework of things to work on and think about after she leaves the call, questions to answer, and just kind of marinate in. Just how I was talking about myself, thinking about what are the things that need to shift now for my future $1 million business. In the book, The Prosperous Coach, which I recommend to any of you who are coaches, the author says that even if a person went outside and talked to a lamppost, like on the street, for 60 minutes a week, they would get transformation and growth. Simply having the time to think about and verbally process what is in our head, getting it outside of our heads, is extremely valuable. I think this was kind of the secret sauce for me when I was a new coach. Of course, I had like advice and tips and that kind of thing, but I didn't have a lot of coaching chops and technique and that kind of thing. I think a lot of my clients at that phase were getting results simply because of being able to talk, being able to really dive into their problems and have somebody listen and ask some questions of them and really just have that time that was just for them. That's so unique. Most of us don't have that in our lives at all. Most of us have friendships where we don't get to have it be all about us because that's not what friendships are about. And our friends are often not asking really hard, good, thought-provoking questions. That's not really a friend's role, right? A friend's role is more to be sympathetic, empathize with us, and really agree with all the things that we say and tell us how wonderful we are. Really different than coaching. The next piece of the value of coaching is shifts in perspective. So to me, this is the real core of what coaching is. I remember many years ago hearing Gabby Bernstein teach that a miracle is a shift in perception. It took me years to understand what she meant when she said that. I tried so hard to understand at the time, and it never made sense. Now that I'm a coach, I see those miracles happen every day. There are so many ways to look at every circumstance and every fact and situation in our lives. And there are ways to look at them that really serve us in some way, and ways to look at them that don't serve us. And typically, the default programming that we have from childhood and our past experiences that determines just the default way that we look at things is going to lead us towards a way that doesn't necessarily serve us. It's definitely going to lead us towards a way that's going to get us more of the same results in our life that we've had so far. Coaching can help you question that default and really see, is that how you want to think about it? And be able to think about it in a different way. And what I love about coaching is being able to see something from many different perspectives and then choosing from that place which one you want to choose. And maybe you're going to choose the one you had all along, but you even view that in a different way. It feels different to know that it was a choice. It's really fun to be able to do that. I love helping clients do that. One of the most powerful examples of this and shifts in perspective for women is totally separate from what I do with our businesses, but this is around body image. This is just something when I was a life coach that I saw with women all the time. And I didn't work with that many men, so maybe men struggle with this too. But I know so many women hold on to really negative thinking about ourselves, and we see ourselves with hatred and disgust and don't even see that as a choice we're making. just seems like a fact. We fixate on our flaws when we look in the mirror and it's all we can see. Shifting to see your body as a human body, nothing more, nothing less, totally neutral, can completely change your life and your relationship with yourself. I'm not even asking you to go from negative to positive. Going from negative to neutral can be everything. So those little shifts are incredibly powerful and something that you get with coaching that allows you to really decide intentionally, how do I want to think about these things in my life, and how are the choices that I want to make about these things going to lead me to where I want to go in the future. The next value from a coach is your coach sees your blocks and where you're stuck and your next steps forward from a bigger perspective. So sometimes things in our business can seem so big and so scary and so important to us in the moment from our own perspective. And having a coach can help you see them from more of a long-term perspective. When I'm stressing over a decision in my business, a lot of times I'm going to ask myself how I think my coach would handle it. Immediately, I know the answer. It's so funny. I go from thinking I don't know the answer to this terrible problem to like, oh, I know the answer right away. And I also have this thought, wait, this isn't actually a problem at all. And I know all of my next steps. I have a client who has mastered getting clients from networking and networking online, that kind of thing, and can pretty much go out and hit her financial goals every month by talking to people. From my bigger perspective, I see now that it's time for her to really start nailing her longer term strategy for building her list, for creating great content, learning to convert through her copy, and really developing that as a way that she gets her clients and transitioning into that being the only way that she gets her clients. So she's not out there hustling for new people every single month. This is a transition that you have as your business begins to mature. You do need to build that other stream of your marketing and eventually have that be the one that you're standing on instead of the networking. It's the next step in her business to create the business that she really wants to have in the future, but her brain is resisting it so hard. She's stepping forward because she knows I see the whole picture, but if it was up to her, she would be like, let's just stick with what I know. I had a similar experience with my coach when we talked about my next 2 years in revenue goals and what I think needs to change to get me to the next level. She was able to really give me clarity about how to make those changes in the best possible way for me, my audience, and my business goals because she has been there and she's helped other people through that. It's just a different perspective that you have when you've already been through it. And I think the more people that I help through their businesses and the more that I grow in my business, the more that I am able to see what's going on with my clients in such a different way. And it's part of really what excites me about the next step in my business, launching my group program, because I really feel like I have nailed those foundational things to really help somebody get to that first stage in their business that they're trying to reach, which I think of as like full-time income, $5,000 a month. For me, that was just the time in my business that I felt like, oh, this is legit. This is working, and this is just the beginning. And I feel like I'm far enough out from that phase. I've helped enough people get to that phase that now I have a lot of clarity about exactly what are the things that people need to master and learn and really implement to hit that point. And that is very fun. That's such a benefit of working with a seasoned coach. The next thing is your coach is going to teach you new skills. So while a lot of the coaching that I do is on my clients' thoughts and their mindset and how they see the world, another major piece is skill building. I teach my clients how to create content, how to write copy, how to build their list, how to sell, how to schedule their time, how to prepare for maternity leave in their business, how to market on various platforms, and more. My clients who are coaches as well teach their clients all kinds of things: setting limits with their kids, creating natural consequences for their kids, meal planning, different weightlifting moves, time management, and more. Coaches will teach you a lot of new skills based on whatever goal they are leading you towards. And that is another major, major benefit, and something that I think you should look for with a coach. I think no matter what kind of coaching you're looking to get, you want somebody who's going to help you really understand what's going on in your mind and really master your own thinking and feelings to really help you be able to control that. That's such an important piece. But you also need somebody who's teaching you new skills and really bringing those two things together, bringing your thought mastery and your emotional mastery and your new skills together to create the results that you want and the results that you're working on together. Next thing is growth. You know what is so uncomfortable? Growth. As humans, we avoid being uncomfortable as often as we possibly can. So 2 out of my 3 kids have really painful growing pains, and sometimes they'll wake up in the middle of the night crying. They're in such pain. And I guarantee this, if they could choose in that moment to stay small instead of grow, they would. And I think it's the same for us as adults, not physical growth, but our mental growth, our emotional growth, our business growth. When we face that discomfort and that pain of growth, we would choose to stay small instead of grow. And I think working with a coach is the best way to force the growth, not from like a hustly, draining kind of way, but to keep you accountable to that growth, to keep you moving through that growth. And I think it really is the reason why so many people who work with a coach grow their revenue faster and grow their results faster. I think it really makes such a difference when you have that person who's walking with you and helping you through that. This week, I was faced with a very uncomfortable conversation, which I never would have had if not for the growth I've experienced from coaching. I was even sharing with one of my friends in the mastermind as soon as I knew that the conversation was going to happen, I started negotiating about different ways I was going to do it. I was like, well, maybe I can make up an excuse. Maybe I can present the no in this particular way to save the person's feelings. And in the past, I for sure would have done that. I would have avoided the conversation. I would have gone along with something that I knew wasn't right for me. And because of the growth that I've experienced, I had the hard conversation. And gratefully, this time it happened and the person was really understanding. It was like, yeah, you're totally right. It doesn't always go that way, but I was like, whew, okay, I'm proud of me, both for taking the steps, but also oh, look, I even got this feedback that they agreed with the decision, which was great. Coaching helps you grow. Coaching helps you to really see what your current ways of making decisions are and what they're creating for you, and to see where you need to change those for you to become who you really want to be. It is not always cuddly and feeling amazing. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable, but I think it really ultimately pays off so much if you're willing to do that work. Final piece of value from working with a coach is accountability. This one has like an asterisk. I almost left this one off the list because to me, accountability coaching is not the kind of coaching that I deliver anymore to my clients. So as a coach, I aim to teach my clients how to build their accountability within themselves instead of relying on an outside source to hold them accountable. Looking for outside accountability is delegating responsibility that you should hold as the business owner, as the CEO. When I check in with my clients on the work that they said they would do the week before, on the action plan that we created, we are really looking for either results for us to evaluate in making the next week's plan, or the things that tripped them up so that we can troubleshoot those. It's never about holding them accountable. I think they always already experience the natural consequence of not following through, and I'm just there for compassion. We're just there for really evaluating and using whatever happened as data to inform what's going to happen going forward and what our plan is going to be going forward. Having a coach has changed my life many times over. I've learned to love myself for real. Like I say I love you to myself, and then I feel warm, fuzzy love instead of awkwardness. I did not used to be that way. I used to feel that awkwardness. I've learned how to have friendships as an adult woman. I've learned how to let other people hold their own thoughts and their own feelings and not try to control their thoughts about me or their thoughts about anything else or their feelings. I've learned how to have the exact marriage I always wanted to have and how I create that. I've learned how to create a business that makes $209,000 actually in a year. And I know it's just the beginning of what I'll do professionally. I've learned to manage my time and actually get things done that I say I will get done. Recording this podcast was in my calendar at this time, and here I am recording it. And I've learned so much more. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, and I know I'm going to invest hundreds of thousands in the future. I've proven it to be the very best investment that I could ever make. I'd much rather invest in growing my brain to grow my business than in any other CEO and business out there. I'm incredibly grateful for every single coach that I've ever worked with who has been a part of me becoming who I am today. And I'm most grateful to myself for doing what is always scary, investing in the unknown. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me over in my program, Mama to CEO. There's you, and there's the consistent income you want to make in your business, and I help you remove everything standing in between. It's lifetime access for mastering your marketing, sales, time, and everything else you need to have the business and life you really want. Whether it's making your first 1,000 or 100,000, I can help you do it. To join, go to mamatoceo.com, MAMATOCEO.com.